Hi guys, it's Warren here. Now, do you have an attic room? Aren't they great? But what you didn't realise is you lose all that useful loft space to keep all your precious belongings that you're certain you're going to come back to use in the near future. So I'm going to show you how you can make a really easy storage solution using a sliding door mechanism which takes advantage of this kind of useless space in the eaves of your loft room. Now, first things first, make sure you clear and clean where you're going to be installing your sliding cupboard doors. Next, assess the area. So, the sliding doors are going to be incorporated into a wooden surround, which I'll be building into the eaves. As you can see, I have this wooden support beam which is at an angle. So, I'm firstly going to prepare the top part of the frame so it can sit on the angled beam and then provide a level surface for the top rails of the sliding doors. I simply do this by taking a piece of wood which is the length of my eaves, then cutting out an angled section measured to the correct angle to make sure it fits nice and snug on the angled beam. Then check it's nice and level on all sides and secure it into place using lots of screws. Now that that's sorted, we now need to measure the height at either end of the eaves and in the middle as well, so we can build our vertical supports on the left and right hand side and in the middle. Once measured, take your timber that you're using to frame the eaves, mark these measurements, then cut your 3 vertical support pieces. Also, if the support pieces on the left and right hand side have to go over skirting, be sure to use a coping saw to cut out the shape of the coving at the bottom of the timber. Now simply make sure each of the 3 vertical pieces of timber you cut fit into the space, then securely fasten them into place. You can do this using either screws, using raw plugs if you're screwing into a brick wall, or plenty of no more nails which will work really well for those supports that are going on the left and right hand side. Again, when you're fixing them into place, it's really important you make sure they're level on all sides. When they are, and if you're using no more nails, leave them to dry so they're nice and secure. And for that centre support, in order to securely fasten it into place on the floor, you might want to use a block of wood and some screws to keep it in place on the bottom. Next, I'm placing a thinner piece of wood at the bottom as shown, which will be screwing the bottom rail of our sliding doors onto. Now you could just fix the bottom rail of the sliding doors straight onto the hardwood floor, but by doing this you're future-proofing for if you ever wanted to have a carpet installed in the future, because then a carpet would sit up flush with the wood as opposed to up flush with the sliding doors track. Now with that job done, it's time to fill. So take some builder's cork and some filler and fill in all the gaps, then leave to dry. And in the meantime, whilst that's drying, we can cut all the metal pieces for the sliding doors. For this, I'm using 2 sets of the Rothley Ares 3 runner system, one for each side of the eaves. And each kit contains all the wheels needed, as well as the upper and lower tracks and some profiling for the top, bottom and sides of the doors as well. So firstly, we need to measure how long the upper and lower tracks need to be for each halves of the storage area, and then cut those to size. You can do this using either a hacksaw or an angle grinder, making sure you're using eye protection as well. Once you've carefully cut the bottom track to just the right size, then smooth off any sharp bits of metal that might be sticking out where you cut. Then follow exactly the same process for the top piece of track, cutting to size then smoothing off, as well as cutting any of the profile pieces as per specification to fit onto all 4 doors, which we'll prepare next. So for your doors, all you need to do is measure the width and height of each half of your storage area. For each half I want to have 2 doors, so divide the width in half plus 1 inch so the doors overlap slightly for your door width, and measure the height minus the space required to account for the sliding door wheels for your door height. And then simply get your timber merchant to cut 4 pieces of 18mm sheet MDF to this size. Then with your 4 MDF doors, give them plenty of coats of interior wood paint, painting them the colour of your choice. Also, once the builder's cork and filler you used on the frame around the eaves has fully dried, be sure to sand it so it's nice and smooth. Then paint the frame the colour of your choice as well. Now, once the paint is dried on all 4 doors, we're then going to attach the wheels and profiling. So in order that we don't scratch them, whilst doing this, I laid down a bath mat, then flipped each one over on top of it. Each door requires 4 wheels, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. Then, according to the instructions that came with the Rothley Ares 3 set, securely fasten each wheel into place at the specified distance away from the door edge. Do this with 4 wheels on all 4 doors, and then attach any profiling you may have to go on the top, bottom and sides of each of the doors that you cut to size earlier. And it's this profiling that will make your doors look really nice and neat. Okay, so once you've prepared all 4 doors, we then need to attach the upper and lower tracks for the sliding doors into the frames we put into the eaves. So of course we measured and cut all of the tracks out earlier, so simply all you need to do is securely screw the top track into place as shown, and do exactly the same for the bottom track as well, making sure both the top and bottom tracks align horizontally, which will ensure the doors will sit straight when they're on the tracks. Now once you've finished screwing all the tracks down, it's then the moment of truth, it's time to fit the doors. Assuming you measured everything correctly, they should simply slot into place. Now you may need some minor readjustments with the screws that you'll find on the top of each of the wheels, but once they're in place, they should glide nice and freely like this. Once you've inserted one, then insert the other 3 doors, making sure they all move freely on the tracks as expected. And there you have it, that is how easy it is to make your own storage solution in the eaves of your loft room simply using sliding doors. It's so much easier and cheaper than having custom made inbuilt cupboards, and it's the perfect way to store away all your things nice and neatly and discreetly.